Welcome to the Mom Owned and Operated podcast, the podcast about moms and for moms, where we have candid conversations about running a business, raising a family, and remembering ourselves. I'm your host, Rita Suzanne, a single mom of four, digital strategist, and provider of no-nonsense business strategies and tactics. Hi, this is Mom Owned and Operated. I'm Rita Suzanne, and today I have my guest, Emma, on the show. Emma Ferrick, right?
Yep.
Yes. Great. So, Emma, please tell us more about you, your family, and your business.
Yeah, I'm Emma. I'm a systems strategist and operations strategist. I help creative and driven mompreneurs create a growing business without sacrificing time with their family by leveraging automated systems, simple processes, and solid boundaries through my optimization framework so they can create a life they love. And my business name is Elf Operations. And a lot of people ask how I came up with that. And that's actually just my initials. And because I'm operations focused.
It's cute, yeah.
So that's how I kind of came up with that. I didn't overcomplicate it because I would have spent months just trying to think of a name. So I just wanted to get my business started. I started my business when I was working full-time at a manufacturing company in project management. I was a single mom at the time. I knew I needed extra income without sacrificing time with my daughter. So I found the world of online businesses and I started my VA business while still working. And I knew that, so like kind of backstory was I had just started dating my now fiance at the time when I started my business. So as we were together and as we grew in our life, then the pandemic happened and I was like, I need to take my business full time because it was either no one was going to be at home with my daughter or I would have to come home and work third shift. Like that was the option my company gave me basically. And I was like, you know what, this business could run itself if I had more time. I'll just go all in on my business and we'll just figure it out from there. So I went all in. Almost a year ago now, full time. And I decided that I was going to niche down into system strategy, business strategy, and operations consulting for small businesses and solopreneurs. So I've been doing that ever since. And we have my fiance and I, it's not his, but his daughter, parent are my now 3-year-old. Her biological dad isn't really in the picture because there was domestic violence issue and all kinds of things that happened before I started my business, but really drove me to start my business. So I could provide for myself and provide for her without needing his money or his support, or really feeling like I needed anybody else to help me in that situation. So yeah. A little bit of the backstory.
Well, I mean, I love that because then, it's more about how you overcame these obstacles because, even in regular life, right? But starting a business, when you have these things in your life happen to you, I find that, and tell me if this is your experience, but I find that if you have problems, quote unquote, emotional and otherwise, once you start your business, it feels like everything comes to the forefront and you're able to kind of help and, and handle and deal with these things and overcome them and grow as a person. Do you find that that's like has helped with you as well?
Yeah, I definitely feel like part of my starting my business was just part of my healing journey because a lot of the emotional and mental abuse that I went through was constantly hearing I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I was never going to be able to start a business. I was just this dumb little naive girl who was just out of college, who was just like, threw her life away.
He was just beating your self-esteem down, basically.
Yeah. So beating you up. And so for me, being able to go after that and like really tackle that fear head on was a real big part of my like healing process and through the journey of that.
Mm-hmm.
And now, because of starting my business, it put me in a place of being more vulnerable with my fiance,
Right.
who I've like had to overcome a lot of the trust and, just leaning on someone else when you've gone through a trauma like that, you don't really want to, but
Right.
that's been a real trigger or like push for
Mm-hmm.
us to, build that layer of trust and build that boundary or build that relationship up and just go into a whole nother level with it that I don't think I would have happened if I stayed in corporate, because I
Right.
made enough that was enough for me to live kind of comfortably. I mean, I wasn't making enough fully, but
Mm-hmm.
I was
Paycheck to paycheck, basically, and it was consistent, so that was probably giving you a sense of security.
right. I was like, I'm never gonna own like if I stay at this job, well, I'm never gonna be able to own a house, which together we were. So like that was another learning thing.
Mm-hmm.
For through the trauma was, it's okay to open up and it's okay to like have a partner, because not
Right.
everyone's the same. Not everyone's going to do that to you.
Right.
Um, so, being
Well,
able to address those.
I'm so glad that you were able to do that, because I think that a lot of times, being in an abusive relationship, it really be crippling. And so I always love the fact that, even just like, I personally have been through so much in my life, and starting my business, I started 7 years ago, is like really helped me to grow as a person and to see things that, when I was working in corporate, that I didn't even realize were issues.
Yeah.
So then working for myself and having to do all the things, a lot of things came up for me, and I was able to work through them. I would have never probably dealt with them if I was still working in corporate, because I'm
Right.
all like hiding everything and trying to fit what I felt like was their idea of perfect and in success, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like when you fall into like a complacency almost,
Mm,
because it's just comfortable, like you said, it's stable, you get that paycheck to paycheck, but there is also, you're just limited in
mm-hmm.
that position. You're not going to be able to, I was never going to get a raise at my role
Right.
unless I was like 5 years in. And I was like, I
Mhm.
can't wait 5 years to get a raise. I need
Right.
extra money now, and I can't be working
And
60
how am I
hours
going to
a
get
week.
it? Right.
Yeah, how am I going to get it? Do I pay more to have someone watch my kid that I'm
hmm
already paying more than my rent at the time to
Wow.
put her in full-time daycare? And being on my own also just like made me really budget focused. That
hmm
is what also led me to being an entrepreneur, like starting my own business, was
Yeah.
just focusing in on my finances, really getting into my budget. And I loved the FI movement. So being financially independent, that is something like my fiance and we are working towards now, to be debt free by the time we're 30,
Love
and so
it.
that we can um, not really be tied to a job that
hmm
we don't love, and that we could just continue, because he does real estate investing. So he's
Nice.
also an entrepreneur. He's flipping a huge property right now, um, which
It's
is
always
really
good
exciting.
to have somebody who understands. Like, I feel like my second marriage, I was married to someone who didn't understand entrepreneurship, and so
Yep.
that was a big struggle, because he didn't really understand what I was doing, or even what I was trying to do, right? And like you,
Yep.
I was stuck in a job where I feel like I had hit the ceiling, I had hit my cap, and I was like, I'm going to do whatever I need to, figure out whatever I need to do to get out of here.
Yep.
And it just is, it's like a feeling of, I don't want to continue to make this person rich. I'm going to work
Right.
every day and giving you everything I have, and I'm not really seeing the payoff. And if anything, like, they give you the 3% cost of living increase, which, like, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah.
No.
No, and like because of the pandemic, we weren't working from home.
hmm
They were also deciding like different layoffs that could happen or furloughs that could happen. And part of it was you weren't going to get, you couldn't carry over your vacation days out of 2020, which by that point I had to put my 2 weeks in. And so that wasn't going to affect me. But I thought to myself, oh my gosh, thank goodness that wasn't going to be what my future was, because I had to go to so many court dates for our custody,
Right.
for we had
Issues. Right.
charges, like all kinds of custody, like all kinds of like time that I was like, I'm taking off for this. We were sitting there for no reason. And not only that, I was like, I was the only one taking off for when my daughter was sick. Because,
Right.
when you go to daycare, they can't, like, sometimes they have a 24-hour or so many hour rule.
Right.
So she might be out for like half the week, but only sick one day.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I used to hate it too. Having to ask permission to take my kid to the doctor. Like, can I have time off to take them to the doctor? And the guilt that it would
yeah.
that they would bring was heavier than any mom guilt that you ever felt, right? It was like a peer
Oh, yeah.
pressure guilt, I think.
It's just stressful trying to plan around that. And you're like almost, I know a lot of women are even like timid to even ask, like they just,
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. And a lot of doctors thankfully now offer like those odd
After,
times,
yeah.
but
Or like having urgent care and all this other stuff. It's just
right.
really hard to work any business, right? Any business or in corporate as a mom, because like you said, we're juggling all the things. We're taking the baby to the doctor, we're doing the any other things that we have, any other commitments that we have that are outside of the job. And I feel like a lot of people in corporate, they make you feel really guilty,
Yeah,
about anything mom related,
they
because
do.
it's like almost as if like, oh, you're making this up, this is an excuse, like your kid can't be sick again. Like,
No. Well, and if you have more than one kid, you don't know which kid's sick. Like, and they usually pass it back and forth to each other.
right
And that was the problem too. Like she'd get sick, but then pass it to me. And I'm like, well,
now
I have
I'm
to
sick.
fix these things for myself.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's why people used to come to work sick, right? All
Yep.
the time they would come to work sick, because now, everybody, you're not allowed to leave the house with even a sniffle. But, in the past, people would come to work full on sick, fevers, no matter. I mean, they didn't care because there was such a stigma with getting off of work.
Yep.
Hmm.
And well, like some companies, they were, at least the one I was working at, if you had to take 2 weeks off, it wasn't always going to be paid. You had to use your like paid
Vacation.
leave first. And if you didn't have any, you went for 2 weeks unpaid. Some people, that's not an option. That's like pressuring them even more into coming in sick and potentially like risking
Infecting other
other people.
people. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, and so I am glad that you were able to quit and and start your own business, but it had to be really hard during the pandemic. So like, how was that for you? Especially then your daughter is home too, so there's a lot of juggling, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was just hard to transition into the mindset of being a full-time entrepreneur
Hmm.
and not just seeing myself as like a freelancer or just, just seeing myself in that I'm the owner role, because I think a lot of women and a lot of business owners struggle with that transition.
Yeah.
Because you have to think strategically and long term. So I was really fortunate that because of the timing of my like switch. I mean, I did lose a couple of leads because they weren't wanting to like spend the money right now, but I did have people, and a lot of my clients weren't losing business, or potential clients weren't losing business because they were starting to grow, because I work with a lot of online coaches, with a lot of marketers, with a lot of small or just remote teams.
Right.
So they were thriving during this time because they were selling digital courses, they were selling like group programs, they were
Right.
selling personal development things, they were selling financial packages or like financial advising. Um, so
Yeah,
I
I
was
know
really,
a lot of people whose business just like took off from it. So I think, I mean, that it was probably a really good time to come in, right?
yeah, and that's what my thinking was. I was like, a lot of these, even in person or brick and mortar businesses, are going to want the support in how do I get on a digital presence? How do I, navigate these this new technology? Like I was so comfortable with Zoom,
Hmm.
Slack, all these online softwares. Then now these businesses were trying to then implement, and they
Right.
had no idea, and they had to do it quickly. So being able to provide that as a value add for people was really good at the time for them,
Right.
for
Right.
me. I should say.
Yeah,
And
because it helped you like establish yourself as an authority and, just obviously, you know, go out of the gate hitting it hard, because for a lot of people starting a new business just takes so much time to even gain any momentum at all.
yeah, it definitely does. And it was hard to, I feel like, gain the momentum, like you said, with her home, but we made it like work. It was like trying to find a schedule and a balance for us both. But once you
Because
get,
luckily your fiance was like helping you to, because you're
he was
both.
home for a little bit, but then he went back to work full time because he has his business, but he also
Yeah.
still works full time
Oh,
as
wow.
well. So he has been um, working a lot more too, as of recently, not when the pandemic first started,
Right.
but now he's back to full time, and a lot of um, properties that he's bought
Mhm.
up in the last few months because of the market
Good for
being so
him. I
good.
know the market is crazy right now. I mean, people are, it's it's good for people selling, right? Because people are willing to just buy way over market value.
Yep. And he's got a couple of deals that were just sitting on the market for so long that they just wanted to get rid of. Like that's what
Mhm.
he targets.
Mhm.
But yeah, having him home at the beginning definitely helped, but it was
Right.
not long last. It didn't last long, I should say.
Well, because you were able to get yourself organized, right? Because you're into systems and you were able to then focus in and create your systems and then help others do the same. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been implementing the systems that I use and the tech. I've invested in that a lot, like just from the get go. And I help my clients um, kind of meet, sometimes they have to backtrack. They like hire people on, but they don't have the systems or the processes in
Right.
place to support that growth, or, they've just been work, like they like action is good. You want to keep making that
Mhm.
progress, build up that momentum, but they're not stopping to think about that.
Right.
They're like, oh, I'll take care of it later, but then later never comes. And so that's something I built up from the beginning. I see a lot of new entrepreneurs being afraid to invest in like a CRM system, or I
Right.
see in like Facebook or just online platforms, they're like, I don't really want to deal with Stripe or something because of the fees. I'm like, the fees
Mhm.
are so astronomically low compared to the time that you're going to save going back and forth with someone on like an invoice, or manually sending that invoice, or
Right.
maybe you forgot the invoice at the beginning of the month or whatever time. So I help a lot of clients just like, get over that fear of
Mhm.
investing in the technology, because you can find really cost effective technology that is cheaper than hiring someone. So I always say, get your systems, get your processes in place, automate what you can, and then outsource the process that you have down pat
Right.
to have really value added tasks. So you're not giving them something that a system or technology can do, because they're not then feeling value added to the team. They're not going to be enjoying their work, because usually the stuff that's value added is creativity based. So they're,
Mhm.
going to be doing like content creation or strategy,
Right.
or talking to people, networking, like customer support. Like those are things that are, you can automate, but those are things that you want to have personal touch added to. Like I
Right.
don't like a lot of automations, like, that leave out that touch
Personalization,
point
right. Yeah. No, I
relationship.
I feel you. As I mentioned, I've hired other people to help me with my social and everything, but I refuse to let anybody else write my social posts or anything, because I want them to feel like it doesn't feel like me if I'm having them write it. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yep.
even for the copy on my website and stuff, like I've hired copywriters and then I'll go in there and tweak it because I'm like, oh, well, it doesn't sound like something I would say, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to keep that in mind because, but let me just backtrack too on what you were saying about investing in your business. It's like, I remember when I first started, I was all about bootstrapping. It's like, here I am having these kids and I need to like spend as little as possible because my income was so sporadic. It was just all over the place. And I would think that one of the first things that I invested in was Mailchimp, but I don't use Mailchimp anymore. I use Active Campaign, but it's the cost
Yep.
the same. It's $10 and $10, and Active Campaign is just so powerful and such a great tool. I would invest. I would tell anybody, get that if you're gonna, invest in something. And then for me, like FreshBooks has just been, I think, a really instrumental thing in like tracking my profit and loss, and all of these things that people don't even realize. Like I see people conducting business on like Venmo and stuff like that, and I just think like that's probably, I mean, the fees that were being charged,
Yep.
write-offs. Like it's not as if it's, it's an expense. So,
You're
it's just
gonna,
doing
it'll
business.
counterbalance what you're making, and it's
Right.
gonna look more professional. One, and two, I think like FreshBooks, QuickBooks kind of, but more so FreshBooks, Dipsado, Wave, they have like really good automations that you can
Right.
build out too. Then you're not thinking about like, oh, did I invoice this client?
Right.
Like,
And it
and
does
that
the
just looks,
reminders and everything. And
yeah, you're not having to send the reminders. You're not having to say, hey, can you pay this invoice? So it also just takes out the uncomfortableness of it. The
right.
computer sends it for you. You're not feeling weird. It's just a nice, like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, just in case. Because I have clients that are great. They pay on time, but sometimes something happens with their card.
Right.
And I notice like, oh, this is weird. They haven't gone in and paid. They've gotten the reminders, but something comes up. And I just like nudge them
And
because
then, just the tracking, like, you're tracking everything is already done inside of these, things.
you're getting so much better data. Like
Mm-hmm.
Dubsado, I love because I can go into my dashboard, see what leads came in, what needs signed, like
Mm-hmm.
that dashboard's right there, and I have like the automations. I can see my revenue. I don't put my expenses in Dubsado. I
Yeah.
use QuickBooks for that, but it's nice to just see the
Everything,
data
like the
there.
whole look. Yeah. At a glance versus like trying to, I would hate it. It's like you're pulling probably from Venmo, from Stripe, from PayPal. And I learned really quick not to use PayPal because of potential chargebacks, and so that's something ever since I signed up with FreshBooks, I have not had to deal with, is any
Yep.
type of somebody coming back and contesting something, in order to get a refund. And people will
Yep.
do that.
And PayPal's really, really lesson learned. Like if I can pass on one lesson learned from this past year was PayPal was so like I used it for one or two business expenses, but it was like I used it to online shop. They charged my card, but it was like a pay through. And I also
Mm-hmm.
used their new like PayPal credit feature to
Mm-hmm.
pay for some contractors and some investments like that. I was like, oh, I'll
Yeah.
get a return on investment. But that makes your QuickBooks so difficult to then balance and bookkeep. So
Yeah.
PayPal can be a good tool, but it can also just mess up your books so
Yeah.
quickly. And it's going to be more of a headache for you in the long run, or you're going to end up just paying someone to fix your QuickBooks for you or your accounting software that you could just have set up,
Yeah.
or have them set up from the get-go. So you're not rushing
Yeah.
at tax time.
Yeah, this is the perk and the benefit of hiring someone like you who will be able to come in there and say, listen, you need to be organized. You need a system for these things. I think that a lot of times when we first start, we just are like playing it by ear and we're just going and not even thinking about it. And then they're just not set up for growth. Right.
Yeah.
And then that's when they hire you and they're like, Emma, come and fix all my things. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I love fixing things for my clients. I love the problem solving. My favorite is like when they're open to it. There's people who aren't open to the change, so obviously I don't really work well with them. But
Yeah.
when a client's just like, I'm so done, I'm so ready for that change of
Mm-hmm.
like, I just took a
Just
client from
fix it for
Charlotte to
me. Right.
ClickUp.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did the whole system for her, and now she's like has a team dashboard that she can just see her team's capacity at a glance. Like she's managing her team so much better. We're using like the forms for her new podcast, like, so that it's getting assigned to the teams in case something's not answered, or
Yeah.
just being able to use that technology, because ClickUp is at most
I love it.
$6 a year.
Right, right. And that's
A
that's the
year.
benefit to it too. And so that was one of my other things was an investment in a project management system. And so ClickUp wasn't around back then, but it is now. So, and it's a tool that I love as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's like one thing too. If I could tell people, if they don't want to do a CRM for sure yet, at least use ClickUp, because you can use ClickUp as a CRM kind of. It won't track your financials. It won't be able to send contracts or invoices. That's why I love like HoneyBook or for like Dipsado
Mm-hmm.
or other industry specific CRM, but you can use it if you're just getting started. Like if that's like the one tool you're going to invest in, I would invest in.
I saw that it had a template for a simple CRM in
Yeah.
ClickUp. So I mean, and so that's another benefit. They set it up for you. It's like basically done for you. You just go in and add your information.
Yep. They have really good templates, and a lot of people they make it easy to share and provide templates for other people as well. So you can find them easily too. If someone's selling them on their shop, or, I've done a couple so that I can make as part of my VIP or my intensives, I just copy the link that from my template and just implement it into theirs super quickly when we're in an intensive. So that saves me a ton of time.
I love that. Sorry, I have children home today. We're spring breaking. Okay, so if you have one tip for another mom who wants to start a business, what would be your best tip for her?
That I actually just recorded a piece of content on this today, but that stop wasting your energy. And this is coming from a recovering perfectionist, someone who is, an overthinker. Don't overthink it. You're wasting so much time and mental energy just like going back and forth on it, because I've done it too. So just if you have an inkling or a want to do it, just go for it, because you're gonna learn so much more. And no one's paying attention to your failures. Like no one's noticing if you didn't send that email, that your weekly update or whatever right away.
April Fool's Day.
Great. Sorry.
It's okay. I know that your face was just like, ah.
April Fool's Day, he says. Do you know what today is?
No, I don't want to know what today is.
Oh my gosh. He probably just thought I was just in here just like chatting with my friend or something, because normally I wouldn't have even scheduled podcast interviews during spring break, but I didn't realize it when I set everything up. I didn't realize it was spring break, and I was like, oh, well, it's too late now. I can't just cancel on everybody. Like that would just be rude. So
yeah.
Here we are.
I know. I was like, I didn't even realize when Easter was coming up. I was like, oh crap, it's like Good Friday's on tomorrow, basically. Like when I was planning and all that stuff, I was like, it didn't even register.
Right. And so now I'm like, I also am trying to just make sure that, this is real life. Like this is business, and this is how it is to be a mom who works at home with her kids. And so, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to go with it. And if interruptions happen, they happen, because it's life.
It's real. I've had my daughter come in on a Facebook Live so many times. I had to one time turn it off because the dog and her were just going crazy. I was like, I'm turning this off. I'll come back to it. Mm-hmm. And I've also had my daughter come in without a diaper, saying she's everywhere.
Oh no!
A call, or like it was like a discovery call.
Yeah.
So this person did not know me that well, and I was like, can you excuse me?
I gotta go. No, I've had my sons like come and jumping up and down and scream behind me during Facebooks or presentations and stuff like that. But I feel like if I was to give them the attention of doing that, then they do it more, they think that it's cute. They think it's fun. So I'm like, I try to just schedule stuff while they're not here, but I still will do things while they're home. But okay. So if someone wants to find you online, where can they find you, Emma?
They can find me at elf_operations on Instagram. They can also join my free Facebook group that I have. It's From Overwhelmed to Optimized. So if you type in facebook.com/groups/elf operations, you'll find it. But also you can find it if you go to Instagram. I have my link tree linked, and I will have my link tree for the episode that you can find me on my socials, find my website, and join the group. All from that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'm glad that we got to do this and that it was just very authentic.
Yes, it was very fun. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And there you have it.
I want to encourage you to remember that being a mom who runs her own business is not easy. We all struggle, but just keep moving forward and don't forget to make time for yourself. As moms, we are usually the first thing to go to the bottom of the list. If your business is overwhelming you and you need real solutions, not just some sugar-coated suggestions, apply to work with me at ritasuzanne.com/apply.